pleasure to introduce to you Chief Dwane Perry of the Ramapo Lenape Nation. I have a lot to say about Chief Perry. He is a peacemaker and a rabble-rouser. And many of you know, before I pastored this church, I was pastor of Brook Presbyterian Church in Hillburn, New York. And that area were the Deer Clan, and Father Stevens was pastor of the Episcopal Church in Ringwood, which was the Turtle Clan. And so we have a relationship, Father Stephen and I, serving the Ramapo Lenape people in that region. And Chief was chief then. Chief was chief way before then. Chief was chief for at least going on 30 years now. And he lives in Hillburn, not too far from Bernard and Tammy. Chief has done wondrous things for his people, and he reminds me of our gospel lesson today, that the last shall be first and the first shall be last, because this man I have seen in grocery stores and powwows and strip malls and car dealerships and wherever people gather. I have seen Chief Perry in and among the people. He has never been one bit, he's one of the most humble people I know. I've never seen him be above anybody in the various clans in North Jersey. Chief Perry has been an activist, has been in jail and in court and you name it, standing up for the not just land rights but human rights of the people who live in the Ramapo Mountains that are literally right up the road, just not even 20 miles north of us, who have been there for centuries. And Chief has represented them well. Chief has been a friend to the people, and more than a friend to the people, he has been a fighter for the people. So I will now turn over this lectern to Chief Dwane Perry.
To thank you for that introduction, and that my ego is split of my head size. Bonjour, the geeky I Demi Bukumakwa, Netelamapo, Washishio Dui Demiwa. I'm Chief Perry of the Ramapo Muncie. That would be the Sweetwater clan of the Muncie people. The Muncie people would be the people of the mountains. We're really talking about the Adirondacks and the Ramapos and all the foothills. At one time in history, there were perhaps 70,000 of us. Today, there's barely, perhaps 5,000 nationally. It's been challenging. The main challenge that I think that the Ramapos have had throughout history is that we live in metropolitan New York. It's about money and property. Ain't nobody care about no Indians. If they can leverage race and everything else against you, they'll take your land and get rid of it. And they've been fairly successful doing that up until recently. However, let me just share a few positive things perhaps. I would say perhaps most single-handedly the Ramapo are responsible for the success of the American Revolution. Without our ancestors, there would literally not be a New York, a New Jersey, or a United States. And that's a pretty big mouthful for people verging on the point of quiet genocide. But the fact is, that before time, that, so we're jumping around here, but in order for George Washington to use the Ramapo Pass you might know goes from the New Jersey line up to Monroe. You guys might know it's Burlington Coats. That 12-mile stretch and also the 12-mile corresponding on the Hudson River made it totally impossible for the British to resupply their troops. The only way they could do that was off the Atlantic or march them down through Canada. by us stationing 5,000 French troops there, made it literally impossible to have any strategic or advance or surprise or advantage. How that first came about was the Ramapo Pass was the Ramapo people's redoubt, sort of like in the Lord of the Rings. In the beginning, George Washington went up. There's a place I'll share with you. It's called the Tahitiway Split Rock. You might know it. Historically, it was a place, when I was a kid, the women used to go into the forest, and then I would say, "Where's all of the ladies going?" And then the answer was, "It's none of your business." That meant shut up and don't get involved here. But what it turned out, they were all going up the Split Rock, which was sort of a power point to pray and deliberate. And what that was historically was exactly where our ancestors, not only were we farmers, but they used to call us, they used to say the Ramapo were like women. They weren't talking about sexuality. They were talking about wisdom. What our ancestors used to do was settle disputes between different groups of people. They would settle right now, where Sheraton was in that area up there on the border, was a field. There was 2 longhouses. People would come there. They would get together. The leadership would go up to the Tahitiway, up the Split Rock, come to a decision, come back down to the field, and go to the decision, and people would leave happily. So the idea was we used the women at that time were wisdom keepers, not like now. I'm sure it's going to get back to it. Not opposed to nice looking legs, I'm just saying that wasn't the onus at the time. It was brains. Oh, and it will get back to brains, there's no doubt about it. So back to George Washington. The reason I'm confident that George Washington also shared like ideals and ends with us was because initially, if you look, you can research a little bit, our Tahitiway they called Constitutional Hill. I'm pretty sure no Native Americans ever called the hill up there, Manilburn, Constitutional Hill. So having said that, I'll give you a little more background. I just found out about 3 or 4 years ago, the Mamos from Colombia come up one day. We're having a board meeting, like any board meeting, and these fellows come in. They had a couple interpreters with them, and they were sort of dressed in their traditional garb. They were telling us about the Tahitiway Split Rock, and they were saying this is a global portal. It's connected to the Pleiades galaxy, and that there's 7 of them in the world. It has extreme importance, and we know for a fact there's one in Australia, there's one out west, there's one here, I believe, and there's another 3 around. But if you can imagine, it was like me coming in here like this. I'm only talking about that this particular piece of ground has all this significance. And I'm from New York too, so my initial thought was, geez, I'm not Harry Potter. But what it turns out to be was that the Tahitiway was a well-known global portal of spiritual power. And that's what it's been apparently since before time, but somewhere between it wasn't passed on as such, I think maybe protected. So anyway, that's where the use of the Ramapo Pass came from. And of course, the first thing that happened at the success of the American Revolution, our good friend who never tells a lie double-crossed us and tried to enslave us. You may or may not know, but Harriet Tubman called Bergen County, this is after George Washington, a number of years, but Harriet Tubman called Bergen County the most dangerous slave county in the country. You guys been in the military, you know that took a lot of courage and strength to go from here on foot anywhere to rescue anybody by yourself. She said, I don't know why I don't have monuments to her all over the military bases in just terms of special operations. That had to take tremendous courage, and certainly the strength of the Lord to be with her with that. So anyway, that's sort of the backfill. And what just happened in the last, well, Sunday, it's taken about 2.5 years. Well, Sunday we had a ceremony at Wave Hill, and what it was, the Sloat family had returned the deed to the Ramapos. And it was, the reason it took 2 years is because it had to be vetted by the Smithsonian Institute. So once it took them about 2 years to vet it, and then it was placed in the New York Museum of the Smithsonian for Native Americans in New York. And what the deed essentially shows is this, without talking about the Tahitiway or anybody else, the deed come from the Ramapos to the Sloat family. The deed encompassed Hillburn, Mulwall, Suffern, Ringwood, and parts of town of Ramapo. So that pretty well covers it right there. And I thought it was amusing because when it first came out a couple of years ago, before it had gotten vetted, I think it was in the local news, I was getting calls, people asking if I was gonna come and take their homes. So I said, yeah, as soon as I get money for a trailer. Kind of craziness. Anyway, that's the little thing there. And today, like I said, unlike a lot of tribes, we've lost quite a bit. Mainly, I think a lot of it has been because of our location. This is metropolitan New York. You guys have the same thing going on here. I think the difference is, you might also want to know that not only were we the first to be enslaved, but we were also the first people to be resistant to slavery. If we were not positively and factually effective about reinforcing slavery, we wouldn't have a great sort of mythology about people riding around out west chasing buffaloes. They'd be out there picking cotton. They primarily went back to Africa because apparently our ancestors didn't appreciate working for free. Although, I would say, like the good Reverend would know this, the first 900 cannonballs fired in the American Revolution was made from Ramapo iron deposits. The chain across the Hudson was made from Ramapo iron deposits. The Capitol Dome was made from Ramapo iron deposits. And the Lady of Freedom, which is bronze atop it, was made from Ramapo deposits. And all of those deposits came from Ringwood. When they got going, what we did was we gave our relatives in Ringwood a chance they could eat if they wanted to stay on their homeland, and these guys are really stubborn, they're still there. They had an option. You can work for free, you can adopt one of these European names, of which most of them are Dutch, or you can get out. So obviously we chose to stay. And it must have been amazing because not only when the folks came here, they built Tuxedo Lake, they built a 3-mile canal into Ringwood. Can you imagine just sitting there and these people show up and they're building lakes and rivers? So anyway, on to the good news. Part of the good news was, like I said, just simply coming here. It was so refreshing hearing people dwelling in reality. So, listen, I get a lot, could you come, Chief, and please thank us for taking your land? I get that a lot. Anyway, what we're doing today, we've got a number of projects. Number one, we were able to open up the Sweetwater Embassy, which is the first Indigenous embassy in the Western Hemisphere. It's located in Stony Point, New York. Right now, we have a small photo gallery. We have a place for guests to stay, but I think most importantly right now, until we can really lift ourselves up economically, etc., we offer a safe place for people to come and do their own ceremonies and also to get reasonable rent. Our relatives tend to come up from the Southland and occasionally from Africa. And not only can they not do their ceremonies, because they do have some pretty intense ceremonies, but the other part is they want for a room. You've got a small delegation and you're coming from somewhere in the Southland, you want more than a year's worth of budget's money for them to spend the night. So we've been able to work with the Stony Point Center and get them a fairly reasonable rate, maybe $100 for a couple of rooms. So we've been able to do that. Uplifting note, today we're looking to, we've been able to regain control over the Tahitiway Split Rock Mountain. That's 54 acres, we have that now. And what we're going to do with it, we're working to look at it now, we want to turn it into a walnut grove with blueberries, the mountain itself. And still, we want it to be open to everyone here. A lot of our other friends come here and pray. And I'm being told by our relatives from Colombia, the more we pray and sing and join, at some point, that portal will open. I did hear from, I don't know if you know Joan Henry, she's with the Iroquois Confederacy. But she was saying there was a giant they could see arising. That kind of scared me. I was thinking I'd stay home. But anyway, apparently it is becoming enlivening. So what we're doing here in Ringwood, I don't know if you know this, but sunflowers can detoxify the soil. They can actually detoxify nuclear waste. So what we're looking to do is to plant perhaps 100, 200,000 sunflowers in Ringwood, not just around the housing, but all through the forest to start to detoxify it. Hopefully that will resolve it. I didn't think, but let me add a little negative news to this. I don't know if you know this. Anybody know what the violence study is? The violence study was done prior to World War II by the Ford people to help identify subhumans. We were the subhumans. Then he was also given a medal by Adolf Hitler for his work for what they call this technology in identifying subhumans. You know who they used it on? Okay. People got a lot of money. I ain't hear nobody putting them in jail. Anyway, they do a lot of good too, but nonetheless. What happened with Ringwood, they wanted to put executive housing where the people live, and our people would move. So they said no problem, they just simply fill those mine holes up with toxins, which right now has killed about 85 or 90% of the people up there. You might want to know that every country in the world, north, south, east, and west, where mines have been that intricate to the survival of the nation, they become national historical sites. Here they become an extension of death camps. Happy talk. Yeah. So, as we go forward, I'd like to give the other part of the acknowledgement, which is essentially, yes, sir.
That walnut grove with the blueberries, is that gonna be a park?
It's gonna be open to everybody, yeah. It's our land, we're not calling it a park, but it's for everybody. And what we want to do in Ringwood, as I said, we want to plant perhaps 200,000 sunflower. I guess I would imagine when they bloom, everybody will want to go look at it. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of scientists involved because they're going to want to look at how it's actually working to detoxify the soil. And something nobody wants to know about, but you might want to share it sometime over a cocktail. Some of the toxins that are leaching from those mines is leaching into Monk's Reservoir. Monk's Reservoir is not only feeding the people in Newark, it's doing a lot of people in North Jersey might just be drinking from Monk's Reservoir. You didn't hear it from me, no one come to my house. But that's real. That's real. Ain't nobody saying, oh, we're poisoning you. That's sort of a different kind of gift to you all. So, what I'd like to do is actually share what we'd like to do when we come to speak with people for land acknowledgement. It's really a charge from our elders to everyone today. It's from those who've come before us. As we are to remember, we are the keepers of the air, the water, and the earth, and all therein, as we are related to all of the children of the air, the water, and the earth. And thus we are all one. And may we walk in kindness, for kindness is the true measure of humanity, and humanity is the true measure of wealth in society. Anishu, 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 Anishu. Thank you.
Thank you.